Hi, everybody. In this exercise, we're going to actually examine an issue that's increasingly becoming apparent in research and research across all disciplines that gets in the way sometimes of easily identifying what's good sources of information, good journals telling you research that you can rely on. Okay, now to do this, let's pick up where we left off on our last exercise, and we'll look at some of the characteristics of the journal of the American Educational Research Journal in the journal citation reports. So to save time, you can see I've already opened us up in using the UMS portal. I've logged in to the Fogler Library. I'm into the journal citation reports already. And let's type in the name of the American Educational Research Journal. And yes, I know I talked to myself. Okay, there it is. We'll select that. Now we come to their page, and we see here that again we saw this in our last exercise, and their impact factor was 3.6 for 2024, meaning that in that's the articles that were published in 2022 and 2023 were cited about 3.6 times each on average in 2024. So the impact factors, like for 2024, you look at the previous 2 years, how many times on average are articles published in the previous 2 years cited by any journal anywhere in 2024. Okay, so the question number one is, well, how many citable articles were published in 2022 and 2023? So kind of how many of those articles are, on average they're cited 3.6 times, but how many articles were actually published in those 2 years? And again, citable articles is just because sometimes journals will publish an article that would never ever be cited. Thank yous to reviewers or changes in policy. So 3.6 was the impact factor, but we want to know how many articles went into that impact factor. So we look at the calculation and we see that it's how many times they were cited in 2024 and how many citable items were published in 2022. Well, there was 25, and in 2023 there was 35. So the total is 60. So there were 60 citable articles, 60 articles published in that 2 year period, which, hey, is our answer to question number one. What's the total number of citable articles published in 2022, 2023? The answer is 60. Great. Now, we've also talked about the potential issue of self-citations, and that's where an article published in a journal is cited by a different article in the same journal in the future. And this can lead to the impact factors being a little inflated because, you're getting lots of citations, but they're all from the same journal where you published. And that can be an issue because it implies that the journal's having a huge impact, but it's only having an impact within the people reading that journal. Others aren't citing it. Um, and in the past, some journals, this has been an issue for some journals unintentionally, and other journals have kind of encouraged, sometimes fairly directly, that if you want to publish with us, we want to see that you're citing our papers. So it's something to take a look at. Is this an issue? So let's go back to the American Educational Research Journal and to look at the how big of it self-citations are. We go to the journal impact factor without self-citations, and we look at those calculations. Again, we see over here that in 2022 and 2023, there was that total of 60 articles that were published. And in 2024, those 60 articles were cited in 2024 a total of 216 times. That reflects 134 citations for the articles that were published in 2022 and 82 for the articles published in 2023, a total of 216 citations in 2024. And we see that 11 of those were self-citations. Okay, so 11 out of 216, what is that? About 5%. So it's not nothing, but that's a seems a reasonable number in this case. And it's also our answer for question number two. How many self-citations were there in 2024? We see the answer is 11. Great. Okay. Now let's shift gears and look at another journal. Okay, so let's come over here and we will let's go all the way back here. And we're going to look at a journal called Frontiers in Psychology. And let's take a look at them. There they are. So I click on that and it takes us to their journal citation reports page. And we will scroll down. We want the 2024. So I'll just kind of take a quick look there, make sure we're still looking at 2024. We scroll down and we see that their journal impact factor is 2.9, which means the average of articles published there in 2022 and 2023 were cited about 2.9 times in 2024. A good, respectable impact factor. Great. And our answer for question number three, 2.9. Question number four asks us how many citable articles were published in 2022 and 2023 in Frontiers in Psychology. So let's click on that calculation to see. And we see that the number of citable articles published in 2022 and 2023 were 12,565. 12,565. I mean, holy crap. Yeah, that's not a typo. Um, that's an insane number of papers to be published. Think back when we just looked at the American Educational Research Journal in that those 2 years, they published a total of 60 papers. Frontiers in Psychology is publishing as many papers every single day as American Educational Research Journal published in an entire year. Every single day, they're publishing as many as a more established journal in that sense. Well, I can't say more established, but as this other journal in an entire year. Every day, as many articles as an entire year. That may get your head spinning a little bit, and we'll come back to that in a moment. But it is our answer for question number four. As crazy as it seems, the answer is 12,565. Now, looking at how the impact factor is calculated, we see there those 12,565 articles published in 22 and 23 were cited 36,346 times in 2024. And, you know, is self-citations kind of playing a role in all that? So let's take a look at this, what happens with the self-citations, and we go over to the impact factor without self-citations. Let's look at that calculation. And we see that there's of those 36,346 articles, I'm sorry, citations in 2024, 1,839 of them were self-citations. So articles where the journal's citing itself 1,839 times out of 36,000. That is our answer for question number five, 1,839. Great. And if we look at that, we might think, well, 1,839 out of 36,000 is also about 5% of the articles, which, it's not nothing, but doesn't seem to be having a huge impact on the impact factor. So is everything fine? And this is where things can get a little more subtle and a little more complicated. For that, let's move on to question number six and discuss some of these issues. Now, when you see something like this, 12,565 articles published in a year, they're not alone. Frontiers in Psychology is not alone. There's other journals that are out there publishing thousands of articles a year, and they have a we they're referred to often as mega journals because they're doing like mega publishing. And in fact, there's publishers that publish multiple mega journals, and we talk about them as mega publishers. Frontiers is one. There's also not just frontiers in psychology, there's a frontiers in education and frontiers in other topics, publishing thousands and thousands of articles every year. And one of the issues that people raise about mega publishers is that they can do a lot of self citations, and that can be a way of inflating their impact factors because they're definitely motivated to have higher impact factors because they're publishing so much. It's there's a need to demonstrate kind of, oh yes, but we're having big impact. um, Now, kind of the trick is that even if it's not a whole lot within an article, within a journal like we're seeing here, yeah, 5%, that's on par with another clearly reputable journal. Um, but with these mega publishers, especially if you've got multiple mega journals, you can have self citations within the mega publisher where this Frontiers in X is citing a lot of articles from Frontiers in Y, and Frontiers in Y is citing a lot of articles from Frontiers in Z and X. And so there still can be these issues of a more subtle self-citations within mega publishers that are motivated to have higher impact factors across their sets of journals. Um, Also, another way that mega publishers have been criticized for inflating impact factors is by doing what are called special issues. Now, there's nothing wrong with a special issue per se. And what a special issue is a publisher, a journal decides that they will do a single issue on a specific theme. A few years ago, I submitted a paper. I was published in a special issue of the journal Pediatrics, very reputable journal, uh, that did a special issue on newborn hearing, and I and some colleagues put together a paper for that special issue. Because special issues are very helpful for researchers. It's nice because you've got a whole bunch of articles on a common theme. If you're interested in newborn hearing, it's a great place to go and see kind of a variety of different articles all in one nice location of one journal, one volume, one issue, I should say. And if you're a practitioner, same thing. It's like, oh, you can pick up a special issue and there's lots of articles talking about that topic in which you're interested. So special issues can be very helpful and can get lots of impact, lots of citations. Um, but then you kind of get some mega journal approaches to special issues, and I wish I'd saved it. This is a few years ago because the topic was being the complaint was being raised in an article talking about this. That there was one mega publisher that was publishing a special issue every single day. Every single day, they put out a whole issue of of on some topic and different topics, just all over the place every single day. And the the mega publishers love it because what happens with special issues is even if the journal, you find some person out in the community, some researcher that is looking to kind of get some publications and ask them if to do a special issue, and then they do all the work for you, and you just take the articles and put them online, whatever, and collect some fees for people publishing them in your mega journal. um, Literally a week rarely goes by that I don't get approached by a mega journal asking, "Hey, would you like to do a special issue for us?" And I'm like, uh, "No." So it's another tool that the mega journals will use as a way of kind of inflating and skewing what their impact factor is. And that is our answer to well, one of our answers to question number 6. Notice it's a select all that apply. Mega journals can what? They can definitely influence and skew their impact factors. Now, another issue you may have already thought about is when you're publishing 12,500 articles, every 2 years, are they really, are there really that many quality articles? Are there really 12,000 plus quality research studies being conducted every 2 years and all submitted just to one journal? Remember, there's other journals out there too. Are there really that many good studies out there? Or are they publishing things that are not that good? And this is an issue that's often raised, just the sheer volume. How can there be that many quality good studies? So are less quality things slipping through the cracks with these mega publishers? And kind of as part of that, also when you're publishing 12,000 articles a year, or not every year, every 2 years, the that's a lot to process. That's a lot of articles, a lot of reviews that are going out there that people are looking at that need to get processed. And a complaint that's been raised as well within the research community is some of these mega journals will put incredibly short turnarounds to for reviews. So if you're reviewing for them, they want a review done in like a week, some of them. And they'll put pressure on editors of special issues that we need to get this issue out. You need to be, if it's once a paper submitted, you need to accept it or not reject it within a week. And they'll put pressure on the editors, which leads to, again, uh, potential bias to just accept the papers as they come in. And certainly reviewers don't have a lot of time to seriously read the article and critique it. It's like, no, you've just got to move them along. And like any quality control process, when you're just rapidly moving things through the system, problems, poor quality, mistakes slip in. So that's another complaint that which is also point number B below, is that the mega journals raise questions about the quality of the articles they publish due to that large volume and often this quick turnaround time that they have. Now, those are two downsides, two problems that people have talked about with mega publishers. But on the other hand, an issue that comes up in research and that we've talked about since I was a wee little researcher is that there needs to be an opportunity to publish null results, studies that looked at a theory and didn't support it, said, look, we're not seeing it here, or looked at an instrument, some assessment measure, and said, you know what, it doesn't seem to be very good. There should be ways to publish. If I do a good quality study and I'm testing some theory and my results suggest that, wow, there doesn't seem to be any support for that theory, actually. Maybe that theory's got a problem. It's hard to get that published. Journals don't like to publish null results. We give lip service to it. We talk about how it's important, but a study that says something didn't work tends not to get a lot of citations, and it doesn't help your impact factor, and it's just seen as more boring research. So we talk the talk as researchers, and journals talk the talk about this is important, but they won't walk the walk. They won't waste their time in their perspective doing this. Um, Case in point, years ago, I was doing research in parenting, and we used a we used a couple different parenting measures, and one of them was supposed to measure some parenting behavior. I won't get into the details with it. And we found that it sucked. And I also won't talk about the math and the psychometric qualities, whatever, but it basically, in a nutshell, it was supposed to measure parenting, but it really just was random noise. It wasn't measuring what it said it was. It was just measuring noise. But it had a big name and people had talked about it, so we included it as one of our measures and we never used it. We never talked about it. We never used it in a publication because it didn't work. And we never wrote a paper about saying this measure doesn't work because no one will publish that. Then a couple years later, I'm at a conference talking with other people, other researchers doing the similar work in parenting, and I'm saying, you know what? We tried this measure, and it kind of sucked. And the other researchers were saying, "Oh yeah, it stinks. Oh yeah, we tried it too. It was no good." And oh boy, where we were mad because we could only ask a few questions and we wasted those questions using this measure because we thought it was good, but it was useless when we actually used it. That's great information that someone should publish. But again, we talk the talk that we should, but the journals typically won't. In that defense, there are some mega publishers that say that's our value. We publish null results. There's actually some big some big mega publishers that they highlight this. You do and they'll say you do a good quality study that has null results, we'll publish it. You don't have to worry about where the finding's significant. We will publish it because this needs to get out. That's actually a potential valuable service that these sorts of outlets can use, giving mechanisms to publish null results, publish the studies that suggest theories are wrong or not finding support for something. Okay, so that is also our answer to question number three is also true that mega journals can create opportunities to publish these null results. Great. Now, one final topic I want to talk about is citation cartels. Ooh, it sounds very Breaking Badish, doesn't it? Uh, Now, citation cartels are something that's gotten a lot of attention recently because computer algorithms and AI sort of software has helped to weed out, no pun intended, has helped to weed out cases where cartel activity is going on. Now, in this case, how it works is I'm a researcher and we have our own individual metrics as a researcher of how many times are my studies getting cited. It's good to have, if my research is cited lots and lots of time, if everybody's citing my papers and are talking about my work, if I my citation numbers increase, my reputation increases, and the university likes that because it's like, oh, look, we've got a star. He's getting all these citations. He looks good. I can get a bigger raise. Who knows? Um, so researchers like to get a lot of citations. So how one way that a citation cartel works is that I, as a researcher, make a deal with a couple colleagues. And so, for example, I may have colleagues Gonzalez and Jones, and I'll tell Gonzalez, every time I publish a paper, I'll cite several of your studies, and I'll cite several papers of Jones's. And Jones, every time you publish any paper, make sure you cite me a few times and cite a few studies of Gonzalez, and Gonzalez does the same. So every time we're publishing, we make sure our names, our papers are getting cited more and more and more. And that helps to increase our number of citations because your job is just to figure out a way to cite their work in your paper. It can be a small little reference or citation for it, but you just find a way to bring their name into your publications. Sometimes it can be more even sophisticated that and harder to track down. That because in that case, what happens is it's fairly kind of quick. It people start to notice, wow, every time Mason Mason publishes, he's citing these guys, and every time Jones publishes, he cites the same two, and every time Gonzalez, she cites the same. It You kind of notice that, but you can be more subtle. That, for example, you make the deal that every time I publish, I'll cite Gonzalez, right? But and every time Gonzalez publishes, maybe she cites Jones, and every time Jones publishes, he cites me. And that way they never see I'm getting cited by Jones, but I never cite Jones. So how could there be a deal here that he's citing my work, but I'm never citing his work. There's no cartel. But there's a more complicated network of sneaky, dishonest collaboration going on among the researchers. And AI is helping to track to weed this out, that it can find those sorts of patterns. Um, but it gets even more. messy than that. Um, you've had entire departments where this has been an issue, that you'll get uh, some university departments in less established, typically kind of newer, again, less established international universities that will apparently make a deal with each other. And I don't think I think this is proven because nobody's confessed to my knowledge. But it's you look at the data and what you there seems to be clear patterns that this department and that department are always citing each other's work. So it doesn't even necessarily be individual researchers. It's just kind of anytime you're publishing here, just make sure you cite people over there and they're going to cite us every time they publish. And that'll help all of our numbers get better, all of our citations get better, and we all look more famous, more established. We go from being so-so researchers to being leading researchers. And that's where this kind of blew up. That's how there's one incident where this caught on, that because they were too good. They were too good at it. And overnight you had departments that suddenly went onto the overnight just onto the world stage of, wow, they've got like all these leading researchers that are in the top site, they're getting cited more than 90% of all other researchers. They've just blown up overnight. And so that hurt. And also because they wanted to do this a lot, they wanted a lot of citations, they were publishing in not so good journals, where it was easier to get published, like mega journals. And those journals suddenly, because they're all citing each other's publications in these not so good journals, those journal numbers suddenly skyrocketed. Their impact factors suddenly skyrocketed. And you had journals that had one year had no serious reputation are suddenly leading in the field. And people noticed and tracked it down. Um, it got so bad. It's gotten so bad that some indexes, journal citation reports, for example, has come out and said and told some researchers, some departments, and some journals, "You're out. You're out. We're not gonna track you anymore. Your journal is out of JCR. We're not gonna give it an impact factor anymore. Your department is not gonna be used in our calculations anymore." Ouch. Um, So it can be a problem. Another case, kind of particularly relevant to this example with frontiers in psychology, where it can get more complicated, is that with special issues, that especially mega journals doing lots of special issues, you can have the editor for one special issue. Um, See, I'm doing this special issue and I'm going to bring in all my friends to publish in it. So all of their colleagues, and they've published a lot in the past with each other, are all publishing in this one special issue. And then one of the editors, one of the people contributing for that special issue, does another special issue. And it's the same group of people publishing in their special issue, and another one does another special issue, and it's the same group of people publishing in their special issue. So you're all kind of, the editorial process becomes corrupt, and editors of different special issues and contributors are colluding to generate large volumes of publications and citations through the use of special issues in particular, but other, just editing in general, but particularly with special issues in mega journals. And in fact, this blew up fairly recently and impacted Frontiers in Psychology. Was one of the journals that got nailed with it, that got caught, that, wait a second, there's something funny going on with your review process, and your editors seem to be colluding, taking advantage of all of those 12,565 publications you do every couple of years to inflate their numbers. And now Frontiers and the Frontiers, because it was other Frontiers articles to our journals too, were saying, look, we're the victims. Frontiers is the publisher saying, it's not our fault. We're the victims. We were getting exploited by these um, editors and reviewers and that were colluding together. And the in fact, as they've identified, here's these journals that we've recognized have a problem, and we're rejecting, but we're withdrawing papers from those that were published. We're retracting them, which never looks good if you get a paper retracted because it was not an honest review process. And it was kind of funny. And they said, oh, as we were doing this process, so we kind of looked at our own journals and our own papers and found a few hundred, where there's these problems. But we found several thousand for other journals as well, because you're looking at your own, but in that process, they're citing other journals and stuff. So they've said we've identified lots of other journals out there where this is a problem for them as well. And we're happy to share our results with them if they're interested. I'm unaware of anyone taking them up on that offer, but we'll see. But these days and ages, there's these databases out there that can help you do it, and there's researchers that are doing research on the research process. So there's scholars that are also doing this kind of forensic work, studying researchers studying the research publication process that are at play catching some of this. So it's kind of a fascinating sort of problem that's going on. And it is the answer for question six, number D, that um, yes, citation cartels can dramatically increase the number of citations of an article. So all six of these are true. And that's this last one in particular kind of shows you that seedy side of scholarly publication. We kind of pride ourselves on being so high and ethical and moral, whatever. But no, there's a seedy side to all this too at times. So I hope you found this interesting and useful. Take care. Bye bye.